Welcome to another unit in this Excel course. This time I'm going to talk about how I can further use a pivot table to get information about my data. Well, first off, here I already have a pre-prepared pivot table, and as we can see down in the lower right corner, I'm calculating for each pair of IDs and years the sum of the grants. So this is the sum of grants, and if I take a look at the grant total, which is displayed here, that's actually again the sum of all years for this ID. If I were to go to the right side, I would get the sum for all IDs in regard to year 1979. Okay, so first off, well, he usually automatically displays this grand total. If I don't want to see this, I could go to pivot table options and here to totals and filters. And then I could select or deselect this for rows and columns. Okay, so that's just additional output. That's like marginal frequencies if we would refer back to like cross tables in statistics. Or here in this case, that's marginal sums. That's row sums, column sums. Okay, so that's not really so interesting. What would be a bit more interesting is, first off, what can I additionally do inside this table? So how can I evaluate the data in this table? And that I can select with either, here I go to values, click on values, go to value field settings, or in the upper part, that's here, click on field settings. I personally would always go here with grants, click on this part. In the end, it will be more or less the same dialog, but here you actually don't run the problem that he only displays this for part of it. Usually that's also not the case, but well, better be sure. So well, here, first off, we can select what he does with the data. So if he has more than one data point in this combination, for example. In this case, he could go with the sum, the count, the average, the maximum minimum value, and a lot other values. So that's pretty interesting if, for example, you want to have the average per different group. However, that's not all that Excel can do in the context of pivot tables. We also have the possibility with the show values as to not report this more or less as absolute values, but for example as percentage values. This could be either as a percentage of the overall total, so that all the entries in the whole table will add up to 100%, or percentage of column total, so that all columns add up to 100. That's basically if you want to know which share 1979 makes for ID 114. Or with row total, that's then the whole row adds up to 100%. That's, for example, if you have differently sized rows or columns and want to make them a bit more comparable. However, here as well, we have a lot more other stuff which we can do. Just to illustrate this, I will just select the percentage of column total. So if I do this, we see the column adds up to 100%. And now I can make my comparison between the different IDs. So for example, at this point or that point, I see that's only 9 point something. So those years are underrepresented because, those IDs are underrepresented in this year. Same thing, here I have like 12.5%. So this ID is overrepresented in 1985. So in this case, even if I have differently sized columns, differently sized IDs, I can compare them, but only inside the same year. So I can compare the 12.44 with all the other entries for 1985, but not with the other ones. So using column totals or percentage of column totals allows me to compare different columns to each other. If I were to go with row percentage, so if I go back here, see in this case, get what I actually had. If I go with row totals instead, I can now, for each ID, compare the different years. See, this decreases for 14. This is if the different years actually have different values. So if I have very good years for grants, very bad years for grants, I want to make them comparable. So that's a way how I can additionally evaluate the content in my pivot table. Well, there's a lot more to go with this, but this is basically what I wanted to do in the context of this unit. So I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more on pivot tables, on Excel in general, feel free to visit the rest of this course or have a look in the corresponding playlist. I say goodbye and see you next time.